Welcome to Formula World. I'm your host, Dylan Shelley, and here's what's on this episode. First up on Formula World, Verstappen needs to change his brain. It's been well documented that Max Verstappen has an aggressive driving style, and this season it has so far caused him significant issues. Mercedes non-executive chairman Niki Lauda, in his usual no BS manner, offers up his thoughts and solution for the young Dutchman. What is the solution for him? Changing the brain. I would ask him, how many times do you want to do the same thing? First, Dr. Marco has to tell him this crash is not acceptable, while at the same time defending him outwardly. It's a difficult balancing act, and I know it's not easy. And F1 pundit Martin Brundle believes he thought Max's race in China would have been enough of a catalyst for change, and urges him not to waste his talent. When Verstappen threw away victory back in China whilst running into Vettel, I mistakenly thought it would be the turning point for him to begin to play the percentages better and choose his battles more carefully. He mustn't waste his amazing talent by brazenly brushing off so many incidents as unimportant or not his fault. Verstappen himself is likely under a lot of pressure to make it right, but he's convinced he knows the issue and believes sometimes you need to learn from your mistakes. I know what's wrong, so it's quite easy to change that in the future. Sometimes you have to make a mistake to learn from it. I mean, you can say to yourself that this will be the race with no wrong turns, but once you fail, you can still change your luck later. I don't know why, it just might be human nature. It's always been like that. You make an error and you learn, as you do in life in general. Renault will say goodbye to Red Bull. The discussion of whether Red Bull will stick with Renault power or switch to Honda for next season is a constant one. And Red Bull boss Christian Horner has come out saying he'll make a decision within about a month. It will be a month or so, end of June, beginning of July. It's the time frame we've always talked about. We want to compare the two engines in Canada. However, on the other side of the debate is Renault boss Cyril Abiteboul, who is growing rather impatient with Red Bull and believes regardless of the decision they choose, that Renault's future will be without Red Bull. I believe Red Bull should behave responsibly. They already have all the necessary data. I do not understand their evasive behaviour. They want to wait until Canada, but on Monday after the race in Montreal, there will be no revelations. They are pleasing Honda and making Renault wait, but we cannot wait indefinitely. It will be this year, next year or later, and while Red Bull can continue to help us, there will come a time when we need to be perceived separately. You could not imagine Mercedes or Ferrari supplying engines to Red Bull, so it's necessary to get used to the idea that Renault will not either. We will say goodbye to these times where we are a supplier of engines. Ricciardo, number 2 at Mercedes or Ferrari. Daniel Ricciardo has found himself in the hunt for the championship, currently sitting 3rd in the championship with the same amount of wins as rivals Vettel and Hamilton. His current form puts him in a unique position when bargaining for his future. But Red Bull advisor Helmut Marko stated that both Ferrari and Mercedes aren't the best option for the Aussie driver and that Red Bull themselves want to keep him. Nothing changes for us. We want to keep him and Daniel knows that too. What should he do at Mercedes or Ferrari? Play the number 2 role? Because Raikkonen next to Vettel and Bottas at Mercedes next to Hamilton are clear number 2 drivers. You can see that. With us, Daniel would have equal opportunities with the same material, no team orders. I think he knows this too. Brundle, Alonso retirement likely. F1 pundit Martin Brundle recently interviewed 2-time world champion Fernando Alonso, and following the interview, he said he feels that he won't be seeing the Spaniard racing in F1 next year. I had a long sit-down interview with Fernando Alonso pre-race, and he gave me a distinct impression that he likely wouldn't be on the F1 grid next year. That wouldn't have been helped by his retirement in the race, and post-race he publicly criticised Monaco and applauded the Indy 500. You never know with him. He could retire, then unretire very quickly, but I think even his relentless energy and motivation is fading. Is Vandoorne McLaren's future? Stoffel Vandoorne has come under fire recently for not living up to his hype, at least according to some. But Mercedes boss Toto Wolff has no doubts over the young Belgian driver and believes that it's all just a matter of time. For me, it's pretty simple with Stoffel. He is one of the most talented drivers on the grid. He beat everyone in GP2, and when he came to F1, many people said he was a future Senna. Expectations and comparisons like that are difficult for any young driver. It takes time. I have no doubt that Stoffel has the intelligence and the talent to progress and become a very great driver. I hope he will get that time. Vandoorne says he doesn't concern himself with the naysayers and still believes he's the future of McLaren. I don't think about the critics. I focus on my own performance, which I think is more important. I just want to get everything out of my car. I have a long agreement with McLaren, so I'm not worried about that. The team has complete trust in me. I'm not worried at all. I'm especially ready for the day when I can really race with a competitive car. I think I'm still the future of the team. I don't really see anyone else. With Lando Norris, it's too early to talk about that. I'm concentrating on myself. Fast feed. Felipe Massa completes 800-kilometre Formula E test. Williams head of aerodynamics Dirk de Beer has stepped down effective immediately. Talks of active suspension being reintroduced to F1 for the 2021 rule changes after 25 years of being banned. Miami's Mayor Francis Suarez says the city is likely to face lawsuits over the proposed Grand Prix. F1 commercial chief Sean Bratches says that New York aren't interested in hosting a Grand Prix. Force India's Sergio Perez believes that Force India can outdevelop their midfield rivals. Kevin Magnussen says he's very happy with his place at Haas. And F1 Managing Director Ross Brawn says it's naive to think you'll see fighting and overtaking at Monaco. Formula World fans react. Verstappen demotion chance. On the previous episode of Formula World, I asked whether you thought Verstappen could be demoted to Toro Rosso, and the results are in. As you can see, a massive 51% of you think that yes, he can get demoted to Toro Rosso if nothing improves. 27% say no, he'll fix his issues, while 18% of you think no matter what, he'll never be demoted, and 4% of you think that yes, he could be demoted. Who is the future of McLaren? Be sure to vote in the poll in the top right corner of this video, and let me know what you think about this or any of the other stories in the comments. And if you like this video, feel free to subscribe and check out my other videos for all the latest in the world of Formula 1.